Hey guys, MrPokke here, back with another video, and today we have a very special content here in Pokke's classroom. No, it is not about any specific honkaistarrail unit analysis. It is in fact much more important than that, because I do believe, as a great content creator, Gacha Smack once said, there are valuable lessons to be learned in all of our life experiences on the internet. And I do believe that the start of 2024 has created some of the most intense moments amongst the Hoyoverse content creators within, well, it has been like 1 month and 10 days. It genuinely has been a hell of a ride, right? And we will be essentially covering the 2024 Hoyoverse Drama Iceberg Explained, right? Without further ado, let's begin with today's content. Subscribe! Okay, so before we begin with what we're going to be going through today, I just do want all of you guys who are watching this to watch this with a neutral standpoint. It's the same with myself and my chat, right? The objective here is not to create any further drama. We're not here to instigate and aggravate the drama and make it worse for any of the parties. What it essentially seeks to do is basically to serve as a recap to exactly what happened all the way from the start of 2024 until as of the time of this recording today, which happens to be the 9th of February 2024, right? So it is essentially roughly 40 days since the start of 2024, where we were introduced to Zmm Artumbo's incident, all the way up until the latest drama, which involves the Atsu, Tectone, and a lot of Twitter wars going on, right? Keep in mind, we will not be exploring any drama before 2024, because truth be told, a lot of the drama that we are going to be discussing today, there are underlying elements that goes way back beyond. There's a reason why this drama was so viewed and so it created a very big kerfuffle amongst the entire, not just honkaistarrail community, not just Genshin community, but pretty much the entirety of Twitter itself for that short one weekend. If you guys were there for my MrPokke's 14-hour stream, you will know exactly what happened. For that brief moment on Saturday, right? That very fateful Saturday, the text Tectone and the text Atsu were trending, not just in action game, mind you, in the literal entire gaming category, I believe, on Twitter on this very specific weekend. So it got so big to the point where even Asmongold head on over and decided to mediate the parties involved in this drama. And of course, this is not going to be possible without some underlying factors, which we will not be addressing today, because if we are going to unpack everything ever since 2022, 2021, it's gonna be a 3-hour long video, and honestly, genuinely, ain't nobody gonna read all that, right? So we're just gonna get right down to brass tacks and show you guys exactly what happened within the last 40 days, right? With the context established, here is our curated iceberg explaining everything that has been happening in the past 40 days. Now, this chart, you guys might have seen this chart from a lot of popular YouTube content for the past couple of months, right? It is essentially the Iceberg conspiracy tier list explained, where there's like very many different kinds of different theories one could find, right? From the top of the iceberg, which is the more obvious theories, the more obvious things that is very visible to the human eye or the human understanding, all the way down to the bottom of the iceberg, which really requires you to have a much deeper understanding and a much deeper digging to actually truly understand what that content is about. For us, unfortunately, it is not specifically to say one incident is more deep than the other incident. This is more so like a timeline, right? So from the tip of the iceberg is essentially the start of our very first drama that happened on 2024, and then we're just gonna slowly scroll all the way down, and this is not even the end of the iceberg. There's another section below. If I just way too big, I want to make it a little bit more visible for the YouTube audience, so that is gonna be that, right? So with that established, let's just first talk about the Zmm Artumbo Global Certified drama that happened, and this is in fact one of the very first drama that happened in 2024, and here is the explanation for this specifically. Okay, so essentially what happened with this Zmm Artumbo drama. For those of you guys who are out of the loop, the main point of argument is basically ZMM has discovered that Artumbo has plagiarized his in-game content using his research, using his in-game knowledge as works of his own, and not crediting ZMM. And he also noticed that because of this action, Guoba Certified is also unfortunately caught in the crossfire from a couple of unsavory Discord messages sent at the wrong place at the wrong time. So ZMM directed his firepower to Artumbo and Guoba. But of course, the main defendant over here is going to be Artumbo, right? Our plaintiff ZMM is gonna be his biggest anger, right? His main enemy is gonna be Artumbo, and Guoba just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, right? Because if Guoba never sent those messages, then frankly speaking, I don't think ZMM would be that upset, right? So the gist of the situation, the aftermath, if you guys want to check out exactly what happened in the drama, I've made a video about it. Tectone has made a video about it. ZMM has made a video about it. So if you guys really have time to really want to go down into the in-depth details, please feel free to check out all of this little content you can find on the internet, right? And this will be the case for pretty much every single drama you see over here, right? So the eventual outcome for this very first drama that happened in 2024 is that Artumbo actually publicly acknowledged that he has in fact plagiarized ZMM's work, and Guoba also came out with another apology, creating a 17-minute long video saying why he's sorry, why he should manage his like social etiquette, right? He should learn to know how to say the right things at the right time, and the holy back reading, right? We all love that. And then to this, at that point of time, at this specific point of time in the timeline, Artumbo has not yet made a video apology. At this point, he has in fact made a community post apology, and ZMM at this point also has not acknowledged, nor does he view Artumbo's community post as a genuine attempt to repair the bridges, right? Repair the damages done between his not only ZMM but also other content creators such as Frog or any other content creators that he might have accidentally plagiarized, alright? So that is essentially the gist of our very first drama in 2024. Artumbo made a video apology, but not at this point. Not at this point of the timeline, right? We will keep things to timeline, right? We will keep things to timeline, right? Cool. Anyways, moving on. So, as I was saying, this specific incident over here, it doesn't have a direct impact to the much bigger Oppenheimer of the drama that happened, which is going to happen in a couple of days later, right? So this, for this specific drama, it is more or less like an isolated incident. It is basically honkaistarrail's first big drama, right? Because before this incident happened, honkaistarrail essentially, there wasn't really like a very big drama. I feel like the biggest drama honkaistarrail had up until this point was essentially the Guoba and Gacha Smacks Wind Damage Sphere versus HP Sphere debate way back in 2023. But that was like the closest thing to it, right? For the most part, the honkaistarrail community, everyone's very chill, everyone's very nice, and I would say this is the first time where things got really like it was just never properly resolved essentially, right? So, all right, so that's the first drama of 2024. Following this incident, it leads to our catalyst, the gunpowder that will eventually lead to the explosion that is the biggest drama bomb that not only in 2024, but I'm pretty sure it's the biggest drama bomb that has dropped for the past 3 years in the entire Hoyoverse community, right? And that is essentially the free doctor ratio as well as Genshin loadouts. Now, between these two incidents, I would say that the free doctor ratio has a slightly more significant impact as compared to Genshin loadout. So what this essentially does is that it served to drive a wedge, a feeling of discontent between the Genshin community as well as the Genshin itself, because when they look over to the other side, right? When Genshin players look on over to the other side at honkaistarrail and looked and witnessed the amount of benefits that honkaistarrail players were receiving, such as free doctor ratio, the tons of quality of life, right? 10 pools every single patch, right? And we haven't even gotten into the 3 pools yet. So this marks the beginning, the sowing of the seeds of hatred that the players are brewing inside against Genshin Impact themselves. And specifically at this point, there was no drama yet. The most of it you guys can see is basically Reddit posts, right? Like Genshin players, they were essentially what you would call coping, right? They were coping that Genshin Impact, they had Aloy, Dota Ratio was a bad unit. There's tons of other quality of life in Genshin. What else? honkaistarrail has very severe power creep. That's why they are giving us like free units. So there's a lot of different threads that you guys can find in the subreddit. Maybe some you can also find on Twitter. But at this point, there was no eruption. It was basically the players' general sentiments being stirred up, right? We're sowing the seeds of hatred at this point, right? So, not happy with honkaistarrail's free Dota ratio, not happy with Genshin loadouts because, in the words of Zyox, Genshin loadouts, they were a complete joke, right? So it might as well just have not existed, essentially, right? So those two are our catalysts, which leads us to the breaking point. 3 pools for 3 years. Now, this is a key event that essentially triggered pretty much everything that happened after that. I wouldn't say it directly triggered. I wouldn't say it is the only reason. Because as you guys can see from later on, right? Like you guys can see from the drama later on, you guys can see it is not directly caused by this. No, right? This is not the only reason, but it is the straw that broke the camel's back. 3 pools for 3 years. The reason why this was such a big slap in the face by itself, right, is because of mainly 2 reasons. Because if we take a look at the face value, if we take a look at the past Genshin live streams, you will notice that Genshin's rewards per patch in the past, this is not the first time where players didn't really receive rewards that they felt were not up to their satisfaction. Okay, yes, that's the politically correct answer to say, right? So it is not the first time that they have done this. And this 3 pools for 3 years, the significance of this thing is due to 2 reasons. Number 1, a little bit of a context. This specific patch 4.4, it drops around Chinese New Year, which is, you know, the time of this recording, right? The 3 pools and all that kind of stuff. And in the Chinese tradition, Chinese New Year is a time of abundance. It is a time of giving. It is time to, you know, it is a very, very huge deal for like all Chinese, right? Especially in China. And when this live stream dropped, when it was supposed to be in a like with a spirit of abundance, right, to show the players appreciation, all that kind of stuff, players just genuinely felt that it was like, for lack of better word, a slap to their face, to get 3 pools after 3 years. Now maybe this might not have been as bad if we were to take away the preferential treatment that honkaistarrail, right, free Dota ratio, all that kind of good stuff, all the kind of quality of life that honkaistarrail has received for pretty much almost every single patch, right? Every single patch, honkaistarrail players has received 10 pools, and this free Dota ratio was just like, it was absolutely mind-blowing, right? And to just make things worse, when Dota ratio was actually released, we all know that he is actually a really good unit, right? He performs excellently in Memory of Chaos, so much so to the point where he can pretty much just clear endgame content as long as you invest in him, right? So it's like, you know how as a standalone point, when there's no comparison, you might not know what's on the other side, because there is no benchmark for you to compare yourself against. But the moment there is a benchmark, right? For the moment there is a benchmark over here, you see that you are at this point, but the other game, which is from the same company, is all the way up here. It creates a bigger sense of discontent amongst the players in the Genshin community. Now this led to the result of the CN mass unfollow. This is one of the first times this has actually happened, where the social media accounts of Genshin Impact lost a substantial amount of followers within the time the live stream went up, right? I'm talking like hundreds of thousands and millions of followers across Douyin, which is the TikTok, right? Which across Bilibili, which then it got back, and just basically just huge disaster when it comes to this. And this was the start where the EN side of content creation on YouTube realized this incident, right? Tectone. Okay, actually, I'm not really sure who else other than Tectone, because he's basically the drama guy, right? Tectone got a hold of this, right? And Tectone, he is angry, right? And he's gonna capitalize on the fact that the CM players are absolutely furious and like all hell is breaking loose. He makes a slew, right? An absolute ridiculous amount of videos covering this specific content, and this eventually led to the trigger of multiple Genshin content creators speaking out against this lackluster rewards when it comes to the patch 4.4. At this point, it was still more or less like at this point we do need to keep in mind, right? At this point, a very important thing to note is that it is still mainly Genshin content creators against Genshin. Yeah, so a lot of Genshin content creators start to take a stand, right? They start to take a rise. It's like kind of like forming a union, right? Like, we deserve better, right? The players deserve better. They want more rewards. There's been talks of boycotting, right? Don't spend money, all that kind of stuff, right? And at this point, up until the second layer of the iceberg, we can see that the masses of the community, there is no drama amongst the content creators themselves. It is still against Genshin up until the third layer of the iceberg. These two events would single-handedly create the eventual catastrophe that will befall upon the entire Genshin community as a whole. And it is basically two seemingly very small things. Number one, Zyox, he made a tweet. The duality of men, in which he showed the picture. Doro44 being really happy with version 4.4, and Tectone being really disappointed with version 4.4. Before I begin with this specific tweet, there's also another thing that's going around, which happened around the same time. There is Envi. He made a pretty viral claim on stream, somewhere along the lines of I'm the only content creator that should be praised because he's a free-to-play, right? And if you guys want to not support this kind of behavior, simply don't spend money, right? Or somewhere along those lines, right?
As if a YouTube video is going to do anything about it. As if 1 star in Google Classroom is going to do anything about it. As if unfollowing Genshin Impact is going to do anything about it. I should be the only motherfucker getting praise in the Genshin community because I don't spend money on Genshin Impact.
If we take a look from, if we extract them, right? If we extract all these events and we take them out from a singular action, right? It doesn't look like much, all right? Zero makes the tweet, Envi says something on stream, doesn't look like much. But because of all these things happening in the background, we can already know that the Genshin community in general is just not in a good mood, right? They're getting compared with honkaistarrail, just getting poor treatment for this specific version 4.4. Content creators, they're all speaking out, right? The general consensus amongst the community is just not that positive, to put it lightly, right? So when these two events happened during a time frame where all these negativity, they're brewing in the Genshin community, things started to go out of hand. This kind of led to the internal wars between Genshin content creators against Genshin content creators, and this is basically, we have arrived at our fourth layer of the iceberg. At this point, it was not strictly Tectone versus the whole world, right? At this point, it was more or less still kind of like a more even playing field. Doro44's viewers think Tectone is just being overly pessimistic, while Tectone's viewers, they think that Doro44 is just being too optimistic, right? Now, they have different views about this different opinion. So there's an example. And of course, among this entire incident, we are not exactly sure who was the very first instance where this so-called Genshin boycott came around, right? Because frankly speaking, it just all happened so fast that it is very hard to determine who was the very first let's boycott Genshin came around. So we can't really determine who was the first one. But essentially, this chain of Genshin content creator versus Genshin content creator, the main crux of the issue is there's this movement which is boycott Genshin, right? a group of content creators. They believe that players shouldn't play Genshin, players shouldn't give money to Genshin, just stop consuming Genshin entirely, to show that they refuse to be treated like the way that they got treated in version 4.4. And then on the other camp, it's like they're just trying to have fun. It's a game, right? No matter what the developers do, they still enjoy playing the game, right? So they're not gonna participate per se, right? And keep in mind, at this point, there was never like a former sign me up list, right? Like, oh, once you sign your name here, it means that you've enrolled in the movement against Genshin, and if you don't enroll in the movement, then we're gonna fuck you up, right? There was no such thing. It was basically, it just started. It's like a feeling, right? Like we should do this, guys. We should do this, and hopefully we will get better rewards. And unfortunately, there are camps to this boycott movement which got the short end of the stick, namely Tenha and Xlice, and they are what we call in war collateral damage. The main gist of it is both of these content creators, and I'm pretty sure they are not the Xlice. Okay, Xlice. Oh, Xlice. Oh shit, my bad, guys. Right, Xlice, right. Tenha and Xlice. Don't cancel me, guys. So this is, at this point, they are content creators that simply don't wanna involve themselves in drama, and unfortunately, it might not be their main income, it might not be their main livelihood, but it is undeniable that it is still something that they do in their free time, and they do gain a sort of a livelihood from playing Genshin, right? And they simply just don't want to be disturbed, and they don't want to participate in anything. They just want to go about and do their lives, right? Simply people that just don't want to involve themselves in the drama. And unfortunately, because some of these content, okay, let's just take Tenha for example, right? Some of Tenha's content, it does specialize in a specific niche, which is wailing the shit out of himself in Genshin, right? He gets C6 units, all that kind of stuff. So naturally, when Tenha went ahead and C6 the units, he started receiving very, very nasty messages on his Twitter, on his YouTube comments, all that kind of stuff, because he was not participating in the boycott against Genshin, and therefore he is standing up for the multi-billion-dollar company like the scum that he is, right? So it just got really, really bad. And these content creators, now although we are neutral, I feel that it is in our position to say that they're genuinely just collateral damage, right? They're just trying to go about their day, they're just trying to go about their lives, they're trying to stream, right, make content. There is no like bigger agenda of, oh my god, I just want to protect my multi-billion-dollar company, or there's no secret agenda, oh my god, with the players Zmm. They just want to simply go about their lives. And the fact that they unfortunately managed to get all this hate from Twitter, from YouTube, it is just really, really unfortunate, especially for Tenha. I just want to bring extra attention to Tenha because I know we're not biased, but Tenha, he's a great dude, right? And we've rated him a couple of times back when MrPokke had like what, 200-300 viewers. Always a great dude. And in case you guys don't know, right, the people who are watching this video don't know, Twitch South Korea is closing down, right? And Tenha would be no longer able to stream on Twitch anymore. I believe either the end of this month or somewhere along this lines, right? Like Twitch Korea is just completely shutting down because they're not profitable. So it is impacting him really, really negatively. And just to add on to all this, like this C6 star, like Genshin boycott, he didn't participate, all that kind of stuff, it just adds a huge amount of stress onto Tenha. And I believe that he's just one example of a few, maybe a lot more other content creators just simply don't want to involve themselves with this drama, but inevitably just somehow ended up here. It just somehow happened because the stand of like majority of hate comments is either you're against us or you're with us, right? So there is no middle ground here, and unfortunately the collateral damage happened, and it is just unfortunate, right? Now, unfortunate as it may be, we have to move on, right? Because we are neutral. We are ultimately neutral in this, so we will be moving on, and that is going to be the Tectone 1v9. Now, it's not exactly 1v9. It is not saying that Tectone just versus like the entire Genshin content creator space, right? But this is a very pivotal point because within this specific event, Tectone managed to get a rise out of a lot of content creators, right? Fob, Envi, Atsu, Dish, Zajev. There might be more, there might be less, but these are like some of the main people that Tectone has beef with. And the reason why this event was so significant in the greater spectrum of this entire incident that happened upon us is because there was underlying beef from way back since 3 years ago, right? And like I mentioned at the start of today's content, we will not be going into exactly what happened 3 years ago, right? Like what happened with Tectone, Goose, what happened with like Dreamy and Tectone, what happened with Envi and Tectone. We're just not gonna talk about it because it is not 2024, right? But just know that at this point, this specific Tectone 1v9, 1v don't know how many people showdown, there is a lot of underlying grudge, underlying hatred within Tectone, and maybe even amongst the people that he's against, right? So emotions at this point of the Iceberg is at an all-time high. Way bigger, and at this point, we do start to see the pivot, right? This particular point in the Iceberg, this is the pivot where it is now no longer about Genshin. It is now no longer about 3 pools for 3 years. It is no longer about CN, Mets, unfollow, none of that, right? At this specific point of the Iceberg is the true point of inflection, ladies and gentlemen. This is the point where it is now fully content creators against content creators for the underlying beef that they had for the past 3 years, specifically for Tectone, because he does have a lot of beef that is pretty much unresolved. It just always just ate inside him for like the past 3 years, and now he's just letting it all out. Not because he want to at this point, but because all this chain of events at the start, right? The first 4 columns of the Iceberg, it all just slowly led to this pivotal moment right here. And that, ladies and gentlemen, creates the start of one of, if not the biggest drama that's happened in pretty much all gacha games, in my opinion, right? And we will now move on to the depths of the Iceberg. But first, a message from our sponsor, Gamer Subs, ladies and gentlemen, right? If you use 10% off code for 10% off code using code Pokke for Gamer Subs, you can get 10% off to your total order. Right? You got waifu shirts, you got all the kind of good stuff. Look at that, yo, look at this. You know, 10% off, right? Using code Pokke for Gamer Subs, right? So grab yours today, grab yours tomorrow. Heck it, why? The best time to get it yesterday. The second best time is to get it today, right? So that's gonna be good, right? Y'all thought it was over. That was literally half of the Iceberg, ladies and gentlemen, right? So now, grab a seat, grab a nice drink, because MrPokke is about to walk you through this entire drama. This is like a side quest. It is a side quest from the main quest, right? So keep in mind, the main quest is still at the point of inflection where Tectone is against multiple Genshin content creators. At this point, it is no longer about beef for the 3 pools. It is now about beef that has happened in the past 3 years, right? And everything is coming out. So that's the main quest. And now this is the side quest, right? The side quest actually does not involve Genshin Impact. The side quest is actually back to honkaistarrail. And it actually involves myself. That's crazy. I will be reporting this from a neutral perspective, so I'm not gonna go into who's right or wrong here. But essentially what happened in this side quest, amidst the whole argument on top, right? At the first half of the Iceberg, it is like Tectone versus they're still duking out on the tweets, right? They're making videos, they're making claims, right? The commenters from both sides, the viewers from both sides, they're getting angry, they're getting riled up, right? This is going on. While all this is going on, another challenger arises. 2 actually. One is Dreamy versus multiple honkaistarrail content creators, and the second is Artumbo finally released his apology video a lot of days longer, right? It took really long, and Artumbo finally released his apology video. So these 2 are the main thing that happened in this show event before we move on to the rest of the huge nuclear bomb, right? This is the nuclear, so this is the side quest, right? So essentially they are not directly linked to the main drama whatsoever, right? Because the Artumbo apology, it is just Artumbo and ZMM things, right? It is just nothing related to Genshin Impact. But the Dreamy versus honkaistarrail content creator, now this does have a slight impact to the main drama, which is the war of the 3 pools. Très bien, ladies and gentlemen, right? The war of the 3 pools. So Dreamy versus honkaistarrail content creator, there was some link to the war of the 3 pools because Dreamy has a history with Tectone himself. Apparently Dreamy, this particular person, they have been causing troubles, they have been causing problems with Tectone. It is, in the words of Tectone, his very first drama when stepping upon ever since Arknights, right? And this Dreamy has just always been against Tectone. So when this happened, this Dreamy versus honkaistarrail creator, all right, the expose is by MrPokke. I'm not even gonna deny it, but that's not the main point. The main point is this now sets up the stage for Tectone to in one fell swoop, take down his age-old enemy, Dreamy, or at least that's what Tectone's mind is, right? He wants to use this opportunity to basically eradicate all of the old grievances, not just with Enviosity, not just with Atsu, but also Dreamy, because what better time to deal with this than now? So now that Dreamy has been exposed by MrPokke, they're pretty much ostracized, for lack of better word, by a majority of honkaistarrail content creators, right? Gacha Smack, Vulcan, Braxophone, Savvy Plays, and all that kind of other stuff, right? But that's not the main point, right? So now that Dreamy has basically been exposed, they also started to make their own separate apology. It's not really an apology, it's basically a community post to deflect all the first points for the very first community post, and the second community post to basically actually give a proper apology, because the first community post was respectfully a train wreck, right? But that's not the main point. The main point is basically at this point, Dreamy has the attention of Tectone, and this is purely speculations, because we will never know if this is true or not, but this kind of gave Tectone like a grip, a handle to start to unload his pent-up rage that he has stored up in the past 3 years, right? And Dreamy, seeing how Tectone made like a 1 hour video about this specific Dreamy versus honkaistarrail content creator, you can tell that Tectone's emotion at this point is riled up, right? He's feeling the emotions, right? Everything is coming together, right? Enviosity is here, Atsu is here, Dreamy is here, and Dreamy getting just, it's like it was handed to Tectone on a silver platter, and all he had to do was just eat it, right? And eat he did, right? Tectone ate it, teared Dreamy a new one. Lots of people came together, and at this point, that's when it will start to pivot into the next point, which is the Braxophone expose, right? Braxophone expose is basically contact point 0, right? The point of contact where the nuclear bomb, right before it hits if this is the Earth and this was the nuclear bomb, this is the Braxophone expose, right? This is the point where everything went to shit, and I would say that the Dreamy incident, indirectly or directly, might have contributed to the Braxophone expose. Why? Because before this incident happened, Braxophone had never been publicly involved in any drama, or at least to my knowledge after researching everything, right? This is kind of like the first time where Braxophone's name was ever remotely mentioned, and Braxophone has reacted to this drama on stream, right? He has seen what happened, and he's just not a person that involves himself in drama. And now that it has gotten to this point, and I'm not sure if this gave Braxophone the slight push, right? Like, if you guys have watched The Dark Knight, just as Joker would say for Harvey Dent, he's right at the edge of the cliff, and all he needed was a slight push. And I do believe that now that Braxophone has gotten a taste of, not necessarily he's the bad guy, no, he's not the bad guy here, but now that he has gotten a taste of what it feels like to be actually involved in a drama, it might have been one of the reasons why Braxophone decided to type up this massive expose. Now, it might be a little bit of a stretch, but I wouldn't put this past behind me, right? Because you know how it's like, before you take your first step, the first step to anything in life is always the hardest. And this Dreamy versus honkaistarrail content creator incident, this might be Braxophone's first step. And now that is established, we can then just talk a little bit about Artumbo's apology being denied, right? Even though this doesn't really have anything to do with the main drama, just keep in mind that, right, this is the main quest, and now we're on the side quest, right? The side quest, this is gonna be the part where it's Artumbo's apology video, right? So Artumbo actually decided to release his apology video 8 days ago, which is the 1st of February. Yeah, sounds about right. So Artumbo released his apology video at the 1st of February, which was roughly 2 weeks from when the ZMM incident happened. Now, once again, we're going to be neutral. We don't know why it took Artumbo this long to create this apology video. Maybe he needed some time off of social media. Maybe he just had to sort the back end. Maybe he was like contacting all the people that he plagiarized. We'll never know the answer, right? But I feel that at this point, Artumbo kind of released his apology at a... I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best timing to release an apology video now, because like half the world, or more than half the world's attention attention span. It is all either focused on either the Dreamy versus Honkai drama or the main drama involving Tectone, Atsu, Master, and Velocity, all that kind of stuff, right? Like 90% of our estimated 90% of the attention is basically focused on these two things. So Artumbo's apology videos released at this specific point of time, it doesn't really garner a lot of attention, but it did garner the attention of ZMM. And unfortunately for Artumbo, ZMM essentially said, fuck you, right? Fuck your apology. He doesn't accept it. He thinks that it is not enough. He has not repaid his victims, and there's just more steps to do rather than making an apology video that is basically like two weeks late and all that kind of stuff, right? And yeah, he simply does not accept it. And at this point, that is basically the gist of what happened. Artumbo at this point, you can also tell, from the comments, like ZMM's community posts, or like even from the comment section, you can tell that Artumbo is also kind of done. He's also a little bit sick and tired of being constantly looking for forgiveness, constantly like he's kind of like, okay, what else do you want me to do at this point, right? Like you can kind of tell it in his tone, because he has tried to compensate the victims, he has tried to reach out for them. So and ZMM at this point just doesn't want to bite it. So Artumbo is just kind of like, he's being driven up against the wall, right? He doesn't know what to do. So eventually they actually managed to talk it out, and Artumbo started to reach out to victims, right? Give them their ad revenue, all that kind of stuff. And that is basically like a resolution at this point, because the side quest basically end here, right? Like Artumbo, his apology released, ZMM didn't accept it, then they started to talk, right? Reached to more resolutions, all that kind of stuff. And eventually, Artumbo did, in fact, compensate the victims, right? It might not have been the first response in the apology video, but I do believe that Artumbo eventually did do it, right? So that was basically the resolution of that specific incident. And yeah, I feel like we can move on to the point zero now. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you point zero. This is the start of Oppenheimer. This post with 9.8 million views. This is where everything went to shit. No one was safe from the explosion, right? The blast radius was infinite. Every single, pretty much almost every single Hoyoverse content creator felt the impact of point zero. So what was so significant about Braxophone's expose? Why did this post have such a massive impact in the entirety of what was going on back then? So basically, if I could just kindly divert your attention back to the main quest, right? The main quest, as you guys would have remembered, it is, at this point, it was still Tectone 1 versus 9. It was still Tectone, Fob, Envi, Atsu, Dish, the Jeff. But what led to Braxophone making this specific huge Google document about Atsu is because during the scuffle, during the kerfuffle between Tectone and Atsu, there was this specific tweet that Atsu said to Tectone. It goes something like this. Basically, at this point, Atsu is trying to find out who is giving Tectone his source, right? He's trying to find out who is giving Tectone his source. And one of the tweets that Atsu mentioned is, if the source is a certain guide maker and who I think it is, then Tectone might be getting manipulated by this source. And then he also offered to Tectone to reach out to Atsu in his DMs, and that was the post that led to Braxophone creating his expose. Braxophone comes out with a nuclear expose against Atsu, something that he has been holding up for the past 3 years of his life and just never talked to anyone about it. No one knows about it because Braxophone is not somebody that likes to get involved in drama. He just never got involved, right? And why do I say that the Dreamy versus honkaistarrail incident is indirectly involved with this? Is because that if you take a look at his old tweet, you can see that he did in fact talk something that is kind of related to the Dreamy versus honkaistarrail oh shit. Your neutral party, guys. Alright, crop that out. Right. Okay, as someone that's neutral, you can see that Braxophone has in fact took a slight comment regarding the entire Dreamy versus honkaistarrail content creator saga, right? Why are people entitled to views? The amount of shit talking behind the scenes is insane. Every day I wake up. So you can see that the Dreamy versus honkaistarrail content creator, it did kind of push Braxophone to be a little bit more outspoken with his views, right? He starts to take a stand, he starts to form his own opinions, and he starts to basically start getting involved, right? This is, I believe, Braxophone's first step, in my opinion, or at least in 2024 at least, right? This was Braxophone's first step. And then all this time, right, you can see that all this time between February 1st all the way until the February 3rd, which is basically only 2 days while everything was cooking, Atsu and Tectone, all that kind of stuff, it led to this post over here. Please tell me what I did or move on, right? So that's why that's why I believe, right, neutrally speaking, I do believe that there is a little bit of a link between the whole Dreamy versus honkaistarrail content creator and then the whole Braxophone expose, and that led us to this point over here. So why was this such a massive nuclear device, right? I'm not gonna explain what was written in the letter. If you guys want to read it, feel free to check out my 14-hour VOD. I basically talk about like the letter. I feel like we've read the letter like 5 times in total. I read it from my POV, I read it from Tectone's POV, I've read it from Mtashed POV, I've read it from Atsu's POV, and then finally we read it from fucking Asmongold's POV, right? I feel like I read it literally 5 times. It is ridiculous. So I'm not gonna be talking about the letter again. But the main point is out of the entire expose is that it started to create a call to arms amongst a lot of other content creators. They started to step up. They started to assemble against Atsu. Braxophone, Goose, Stefan, Sekapoko, Bob, Mujin, Daisy. A lot of content creators started to assemble versus Atsu because of Braxophone's expose. Part of the reason is mainly because, as I have mentioned earlier, Braxophone, he is not someone that even involves himself with drama for like a good part of 3 years. All he does is make content, make guide videos, and then only very recently he started to take his first steps, and now boom, this thing just dropped, and it made other content creators realize, hey, I have very similar experiences with Braxophone over the past 3 years ago with the very same guy, which is Atsu. So a lot of people started to come up, say their experiences, and of course at this point Atsu deflects the entire post that Braxophone made. It's a lie, right? Just something about the friendship, right? And why Atsu felt this way about Braxophone, right? About the VTuber, all that kind of stuff. So now the attention, it is no longer between Tectone and the other content creators. This point of the iceberg over here, the specific point, the main target, or rather the main focus, has now completely shifted into Braxophone and Atsu. Cool? So now at this point, Tectone is cranking. He's so happy because he realized that what Atsu has been doing to him for the past 3 years, apparently it is not in Tectone's mind, that it was in his head to get manipulated, all that kind of stuff. And once again, like I said, these are all their experience, right? These are all their recounts. We are a neutral party, so that's that. And when even Goose came back with his own account of what happened, it was a very emotional moment for Tectone on stream.
I just got a DM from Goose. I haven't heard from him in over 2 years. Hey, been seeing everything going on, and I've been respecting you and your career for a while. I just want to say I'm glad you came out and said that on stream, and I have zero issues with you now, and honestly, I'd also love to talk things out, as I do think I could have handled things better, and honestly, my mental health was absolutely destroyed due to Atsu bombarding me. I know we won't have what we ever did, but I still do value as a piece of my life. When everything blows over right now, let's have a talk.
Back then, they were literally roommates, or like very good friends, and eventually they had a falling out, and all this came down to this specific point where Atsu just, he's getting everything that's happening to him, right? And it was a very emotional moment for Tectone, and vindication is the key word that will summarize what Tectone is experiencing at the specific moment, right? So at this specific point of time, you guys will know that Tectone is now no longer in the main picture, right? At this point, it's all the other Hoyo content creators. They're starting to assemble against Atsu, and now it is no longer Tectone 1v9. It is now Atsu 1v, I don't even know how many, right? The tables have flipped. So now it's Atsu. And of course, throughout this entire span where this happened, yours truly, MrPokke, I was streaming this entire thing, right? From the moment I read the tweet before Tectone even got on live, I was already there. I was reading the tweet, I was reading Atsu's tweet, and then Tectone got live, and Tectone started to basically rip Atsu a new one, right? And on his tweet, that's completely debunking Atsu's claims, completely debunking, protecting Brax, all that kind of stuff. And we were basically all there as a neutral party to witness it go down. And that is basically where you see the Tectone, Atsu, Pokke stream. Because at this point of time, all three of us, we were streaming at the same time. Tectone was streaming to his viewers, Atsu was streaming to his viewers, and then I was streaming to, you know, my villagers, the neutral villagers, right? So that was what happened on that fateful Saturday. And at this point of time, while Tectone was addressing all this, in the middle of this stream, I'm not exactly sure what was the pivotal moment when it happened, but Enviosity came out with another nuclear tweet. Maybe not as nuclear as Braxophone, because it didn't really elicit like a similar call to arms response, but Enviosity released a 19 paragraph long tweet basically sharing his experience with Tectone. And one of this tweet involved Tectone's ex-wife. It was a clip from way back in the years. We're not going to discuss the clip, but it basically involved Tectone's ex-wife. And Tectone was not happy about it. He was not happy about it. He was furious was an understatement at a specific point in time. Yeah, he was pissed, man. He was fucking pissed. And some players in the community, they theory crafted that Atsu deployed Enviosity to send out the tweet as a distraction to Atsu himself, because he was getting completely blown apart by Tectone's stream, right? I think at that point, Tectone had like if I'm not wrong, 15,000 viewers watching his stream. It was absolutely insane. Social media, on Twitter, everything was like, you could literally see the collapse of Atsu's initial standing up against Tectone, right? Like, even for example, if you guys refer to back into our original 1v9, you can see that Fob and VOSD, like even Dish and Fob, they retracted their tweets, they apologized, and you can see that the allies for Atsu, right, they're collapsing. So some theorized that Atsu basically deployed Enviosity to make that tweet and divert attention for Tectone away from Atsu himself. But once again, as a neutral party, we will never know if that's the case, right? But just to put it out there, because the timing of the tweet, it is astronomically bad. The timing of the tweet was you couldn't have picked a worse timing to tweet that out. It genuinely was so bad. Like, everybody was at that point just absolutely going at Atsu. Nobody was thinking about Enviosity, right? Because at that point, keep in mind, guys, right? Remember our timeline. At this point, the only thing that Enviosity basically got himself involved in was this. I alone am the praised one clip, right? Where basically he should be the only one praised for being FTP, all that kind of stuff. This was his biggest involvement. And at this point, after so many layers of the iceberg, it is like he's basically already out of the picture, right? The entire focus is now entirely upon Atsu, as well as everyone that's standing up against Atsu. So it is just really like horrendous timing for Enviosity to basically, hey guys, I'm here, lone is me, when he dropped the tweet. It was just horrendous timing, right? So that's basically what happened. And Tectone, he did divert his attention to Enviosity, completely getting emotional, all that kind of stuff, and just absolutely just going off in his stream, on his stream, right? Now at this time, we enter Daddy Mtashed. Now, Mtashed, throughout the entire drama, right, the entire event of this entire drama, he has been a neutral party for the most part as well. He's basically what MrPokke was doing, but is not as insane, right? He has been basically in the neutral party for a very long time. Even before this, Mtashed has made a couple of videos addressing what's going on in the honkaistarrail space, right? Like even at this point, right? At this point where we see the Tectone 1v9 for Fort Master, Envi, Atsu, even at this point, Mtashed has already made videos covering this, right? And I still remember the video. If you guys want to check out the video, go give it a check out. It is a fantastic neutral video, because at the end of the day, his final point in that specific video, when it was at this phase, it was that it is just a shitty place to be in as a content creator for Genshin, and he just felt really, really alone because nobody was being like cordial, right? Everyone was just going at each other, and he just felt really, really bad. And you could sense the sadness in Mtashed's voice to witness how the community became at that specific point of time, right? And this was back in the Tectone 1v9 arc. Then fast forward now, Mtashed enters the fray. For this specific incident, when Mtashed enters the fray, it was rough actually, because when Mtashed called Atsu specifically, before Mtashed called Atsu, Tectone was like, I'm never gonna get into a call with that guy. I'm just never gonna get in. Because why? Why? He talks like a politician, right? He knows the answer to everything, right? The moment you get yourself in a room with him, it's over, right? And I'm just never gonna get in a call. So he felt that throughout his experience dealing with Atsu, he thinks that no one should be getting into a call with Atsu, because if you get into a call with Atsu and he knows his words, right? He knows his way around his words. Tectone feels that he will somehow manage to shift the blame or the attention away from himself, because he is now given a platform to justify his means and justify his actions. And it was very evident the moment Mtashed first joined the call with Atsu, because the beginning of the call, it was Mtashed allowing Atsu to explain from his perspective. And basically he's just coming up with all these excuses and just finding a way out from this situation. And at this point, a lot of people were like, oh my god, Mtashed, why? Get off the call. And then Tectone was like having a stroke. He was literally having a stroke, and he's like, oh, why? Like it was bad. It was rough, right? It was rough. And it was really like, at this specific point, when Mtashed joined the call, to Tectone, it felt like he almost had it, and now it's slipping away. Because at this point, Atsu has contradicted himself so much to the point where, beyond a reasonable doubt, the court of public opinions on Twitter, on YouTube, everybody, they are already fully convinced that Atsu is just full of shit, neutrally speaking, right? For example, the picture where Atsu photoshopped Brax's phone as well as the VTuber and then slapped on Bao inside this specific picture, right? That was a flat-out lie, because first Atsu mentioned that it was not the same picture when it in fact was the same picture, right? That's one instance. And a lot of subsequent other just holes in his argument started to appear. And they were already fully convinced that, okay, yeah, Atsu is Jovert, right? And when Mtashed joined the call, it basically allowed Atsu to just re-establish his stronghold, re-establish his position, and he felt that, oh shit. It started to feel as if his words were making sense, because Mtashed was giving him an opportunity to speak his feelings, right? But towards the end of the call, Mtashed actually managed to somehow turn it around. And I still distinctively remember this. Towards the end of the call, like they were legit like they were gonna get off, right? Atsu asked Mtashed, it's like, what is your opinions about me, Mtashed? What are your opinions about me? To which Mtashed gave this very beautiful answer. It went along something like this. It's not word for word, right? It's been like a week plus, so it's not really word for word. But it's something along the lines of this. Mtashed said, if you truly did all those things that multiple sources have claimed you have done, then you're a piece of shit, and I don't want to do anything with you. Because at this point, it was like, Mtashed didn't directly say, I don't like you, Atsu, and I hate that you've done all this. He didn't say that. He said, if you've done those things, then I think you're a piece of shit. And that really, it really changed the dynamic of the entire conversation. Because now, it was, to anyone that is observer enough, it is very obvious that Mtashed, it is basically insinuating that Atsu has in fact done this, right? Multiple sources have claimed this. A lot of stacking evidence against him. His own arguments were just falling short all over the place, and his final opinion was this. And I don't really remember what Atsu's response was. That I just remember the chat was like, oh, that's crazy. Oh, and then Tectone was like cranking it as well. Like it was crazy. And that was basically what happened. And they got off the call from that. And then when that happened, Tectone went back to reading more of Atsu's stream and all the kind of stuff, right? Because he was basically watching Atsu's VOD to see what Atsu was saying against Brax paragraph. And this brings us to the settlement of the explosion. Asmongold enters the chat. And it legit was like towards the end of my 14-hour-long stream. I believe that this happened around the 12-hour mark. And frankly speaking, at that point, I was completely exhausted. I was like, just get me out. But suddenly, Asmongold gets himself involved, and he started being the brand new neutral viewpoint, neutral mediator that enters into the battlefield. The arrival of Asmongold, right? So he gets into a call with Atsu. He gets into a call with Mtashed. And I believe he also got into a call with Brax himself. And he also got into the call with Tectone. So basically, he essentially got into a call with all the major parties, essentially. Asmongold, if you're watching this, I love you. But anyways, he got in. And this time, when he was calling with the different parties, it was a very different approach compared to Mtashed. The way Mtashed called Atsu out, or rather not called Atsu, the way Mtashed had a conversation with Atsu, it was basically they were talking about the points, and then they were talking about their feelings, right? Like how Mtashed felt about this, how Atsu felt about that. It was a little bit long-winded. That was the call for Mtashed, right? For Asmongold, he didn't give a fuck. He's not here to talk about feelings. He's not here to talk about, oh, I felt this way. He doesn't give a fuck. All he wants is, okay, do you do this? Okay, you did. Where's the proof? Okay, do you do this? Oh, you didn't? Okay, where's the proof? Like, he literally just did this throughout the entire call with pretty much everybody, right? And it kind of forced Atsu into a position where, like, it gets very hard to kind of, like, hold up his claims. Because a lot of his points, they really were just, like, I wouldn't want to say grasping at straws, but it's basically his anecdotal viewpoints, right? There was no conclusive, like there's no receipts, there's no nothing. He's not going to show any DMs. Whereas on the other side, there was clips, right? He didn't show any clips, all that kind of stuff. And it started to become a very interesting thing to see unfold, essentially. And what's the craziest thing about all this is that the final nail in the coffin towards the end of Asmongold's call, and like I said, I'm not going to be explaining the call. If you guys want to check out my call, check out the call, check out my VOD, right? The entire call is recorded, right? The final nail in the coffin, it wasn't even delivered to Atsu. That's right. Asmongold delivered the final nail to Enviosity because of the tweet that he said. The tweet that Enviosity basically, like, he was emotional. He brought in Tectone's ex-wife, the min picker, and then I'm not exactly sure if this was exactly what Asmongold said, but it was something along the lines of he shouldn't be in this space because he has like mental issues or some shit. Because if you're getting that, or something along those lines, right? Something along those lines. He was completely tearing down Enviosity, and the craziest thing was Atsu couldn't even say anything about it because everything was there in like black and white. On Enviosity's tweet, everything was there, right? Like, why the fuck would he bring in Tectone's ex-wife? Why would he get emotionally triggered over min picker and all that kind of stuff, right? So like at this point, Asmongold, and this is coming from a guy that literally is not even like, he doesn't even know the drama. He just came in like half an hour ago and just asked everybody to show the receipts, and that was his impression of Enviosity. And even Atsu was like, yep. So at the end of the call, majority of the internet, it kind of turned onto Enviosity towards the end of Asmongold's call. So like, yeah, that was basically the end of that specific day itself, or at least that's what I think, because I stayed up throughout the entirety of what's going on, right? I was watching Asmongold stream as well. I basically stayed on all the way until Tectone went to bed, Atsu left the call, right? Everybody left the call, and it was just left down to Asmongold, and then Asmongold is like, yo guys, we're gonna play some Monster Hunter or some shit like that. I stayed until this point. So that was that. I wasn't fully aware of what was transpiring on Twitter, because apparently there was like a whole lot of other shit that's happening, a whole lot of other shit that's going down, like Enviosity, they're saying like he got permission from Tectone's XY to post a video, all that kind of stuff. It was just a holy shitstorm that's in Twitter, but unfortunately, MrPokke, I wasn't directly keeping tabs at Twitter at this point, because it's been 14 hours. I was literally streaming from, I believe, like 6 p.m. all the way till 8 a.m. Not a joke, by the way. I started the stream when the night was still there. I ended the stream with me opening the blinds and sunlight shined on my face 14 hours later, right? So at this point, I was like, nope, I'm out. I tapped out. But that was what happened on the Oppenheimer day itself. And now, as of this point, we reach the conclusion. Atsu deletes pretty much everything. He deletes his claims, he deletes his posts, he deletes all the thing. And now, so as of the time of this recording, which is 9th of February, you can see that Atsu is basically, right, I've called with Brax and Goose separately to air any grievances, made our apologies, right, they were nice and refreshing, right, waiting to tweet anything publicly, right, so basically now they are in the talks, they're talking with one another, right, everything else before that, yeah, it's just, yep, so this is the part where after everything happened, which was one day after the entire Oppenheimer day happened, he deleted everything. He basically deleted everything he said, and there was this is the only thing left, right? And then eventually he was like, yeah, people were dogpiling him, right? Bring the ex-wife, bring Atsu's wife, all that kind of stuff. Which, okay, at this point, I do want to point this out from like a neutral perspective. It is never okay to bring like anyone's like loved ones or family matter into like Twitter drama. It is just like, no matter who it is, it is just a very, very underhanded way of doing it. So I'm just gonna, from a neutral perspective, I'm gonna keep it about, right? So now we are in the works of repair, we're in the works of reconciliation. I do believe that in the future, Atsu and Brax will be coming out with statements to address anything, address any misunderstandings that have been happening towards them. So you can see how this entire drama, it has shifted so much that you can't even recognize what the fuck this drama was about anymore, right? We started all the way at the top with like free daughter ratio, right? All this kind of stuff, 3 pools for 3 years, blah, 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 blah. And then somehow it ended off with not even Tectone as the final link in the chain. It's not even Tectone. It literally ended off with Atsu and Brax. Tectone was already, he's already out. Which is kind of insane, considering that Tectone is like the face of like all drama, and I think for the first time in a long time, Tectone is no longer the final party. Like, he's not the last one to leave the party anymore. It is actually Atsu and Brax, which is absolutely insane to me, right? And then I'm not exactly sure of what's going on as of the current day of recording, which is the 9th of February, but apparently my chat tells me there's a phase 2. What? So, I guess there might be a season 2 to this entire 2024 Hoyoverse drama. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but this is not even the end, apparently. And technically, even without the phase 2, we're still waiting on Atsu and Brax to come to their like mutual agreements and talk it out and make a public statement, right? So technically, as of the time of this recording, the drama is not even over yet. So with that, we have come to the end of our neutral party analysis towards the 2024 Hoyoverse content creator Iceberg Explained with your host, MrPokke, right? If you guys want to engage in any further discussions, head on to my Discord at Pokke's Village, where we have a very active community talking about pretty much everything on a daily basis. If you want to check out my stream, that's going to be twitch.tv/MrPokke, where I'll be streaming almost every single day, as well as on YouTube Live. Schedule will be updated on Discord as well. I will be looking forward to see how everything transpires, but for now, this is going to be the last time I'm going to be talking about this until further developments, right? I'll go back to making more honkaistarrail content. I'll be making Black Swan's team analysis. I'll be making like more account audit and all kind of stuff, so look forward to that. And with that, we've come to the end of today's content, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. I genuinely cannot believe this shit. I genuinely cannot believe this shit. I genuinely cannot believe this shit, guys. Did I say how I genuinely cannot believe this shit? I genuinely cannot believe this shit, guys.